Hi friends, host Eric here with Rachel, his beloved wife. And today I want to talk about cognitive functions, and specifically what's the underlying thing underneath each one. Now what exactly kind of thing this is a question that's kind of important to answer, but I'm going to get into it before I get into that, which is, first of all, what's the underlying thing between SI? This is the mechanism, it's repetition. If you were to think of your body as having the capacity to repeat actions and imprint muscle memory. So my fingers remember the shape of a C chord on the guitar. I don't have to reconstruct it from an idea first, right? You could think about memory as memories and learning things, keeping track of information as being the same sort of muscle memory, but the muscle's the brain. So if you've got something coming up later today, you remind yourself by literally saying to yourself multiple times, don't forget that thing. And then 10 minutes later, don't forget that thing. So it's a tendency to trigger that repetitive mechanism as a means of learning, retaining, keeping track of things. And repetition is the fundamental underlying mechanism of it. Now, in contrast with extroverted sensing, the mechanism is basically impactfulness, or you might say force, as socionics does, but not in the sense of compulsion so much as actual physical force is a component of it. But in general, matters of comparing impacts, knowing how much impact a given action is going to have, and dealing with those matters of impact are core to extroverted sensing. So now let's do the thinking functions. So core to TI is deductive reasoning or conditional logic. Core to TE is ordinality or causal logic. So for TI, we want things to line up words-wise with definitions and other binary conceptual aspects that allow you to eliminate certain things as wrong, right? TE also might eliminate something that's wrong, like, no, don't do that now. You have to do this and this and this first, or else you won't be able to successfully complete the thing you're beginning to attempt to step forward, or whatever. So it's just, the difference is, in conditionality, there's no element of lost time that is experienced by going down the wrong path of logic, so to speak. Okay, now let's do the F's. The underlying mechanism of FI is interest, which is to say what you want and don't want, what makes you feel good, what makes you feel bad. The fundamental mechanism of FE is reciprocity, the idea that there should be reciprocal burdens among people to, if I do you a favor, you do me a favor. If I called you last time, you call me this time. That kind of thing, you know. And then lastly, let's do the ends. The ends are in some sense the hardest ones to talk about the mechanisms of, because they defy easy mechanical explanation. For any, which is a little easier to talk about, the mechanism of it, it's divergence from distinct and complete identities. So you might call it a drive towards novelty. With introverted intuition, it's attention to relevance in particular, and the relationship between expression and impact on a communicative level. Of course, it might also not necessarily on a communicative level. That's for NIFE, but it's a sense of the relevance of a given thing, whether it's determinate or gets washed out in the mush of the data, is something that NI is very aware of. You might also say the underlying mechanism is pattern recognition and or shape constancy, which is the proto cognition for introverted intuition, in the same sense that object permanence is the proto cognition for introverted sensing. And that completes this video.